So these are just kind of some of the cultural activities we partake in. We first went to Sacagawea's gravesite. So up here I just have a little bit of history about it. But mainly what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was the actual other graves that we saw there. And a lot of them, sadly, were young people. I'd say like half of them, a significant amount. A lot of young people in their teenage years. There was also a lot of military grave sites. And if you notice, this is a picture of actually what is supposedly to be Sacagawea's grave. But all of them are like kind of mounds like this. And they're all really well taken care of with like flowers, and they kind of individualize them with different trinkets and stuff for family members. And so I just thought that was really interesting. It shows how they really keep in touch with their family and their ancestors in those paths. Next is we have dealt a lot with this man named Willie LeClaire, and he's a native hiller. And we actually went out to dinner with him when we first got there, and he just kind of told us a little bit about being Native American, growing up, and his father actually kind of assimilated him and his family into the American culture. He went without knowing his language, his native tongue, traditions like that, and actually came back later in life and came back to his culture, got in touch with his roots, and became a native hiller. He's a very wonderful guy. I mean, very interesting, very in touch with his culture now. But he still had kind of what Darcy and Julia were talking about, some gripes that still go on about just ways to improve the quality of life on the reservation, and still really hard. But he did dancing, storytelling, and we actually partook in sweat ceremony, which is the next thing I'll talk about. So I don't know if any of you, does anybody know what a sweat ceremony is? What it entails? So it's kind of like, you can kind of think of it as a sauna as the atmosphere. It's a lot more spiritual than that, and it's kind of like a vision quest. Willie actually told us that if you pass out, that you're closer to grandfather. It's kind of like the object. And so you heat up a whole bunch of hot stones, and you put it in this tent-like structure. And you all go in there, and there's a lot of different rituals that you do in this whole process. Like like I said in here, it kind of celebrates the different directions, west, north, south, and east. And you actually have to enter a certain way when you go in. You want to turn, it'll be facing west, and you'll turn around to the north, and they all mean separate things. And you're kind of giving your respect to them, and then pass out water in the ceremony, and you sing. There's 4 different rounds. It's just, I can't even tell you enough about it. I had to experience, but it was a wonderful experience. It was kind of intense also.
It's a great opportunity to give thanks, to make connection to your relations, whether it's family relations, professional relations. Really puts you in touch with all the people that are around you. So
it's a very, very spiritual experience. And there's about, how many was there? We all fit into this, like 20 people fit into this small tent, so you're all really close, really sweaty.
Tell them about the sweat hogs.
The sweat hogs. So we had these wonderful ladies, we called them the sweat hogs, and they would kind of just help us, because you don't know what you're getting into. I mean, they're like, Sharif kind of gave us a heads up, but you don't know until you're actually in there. It gets hot. It gets really, really hot. And it's even hard to breathe. It can be. And so they really pulled us in and gave us some tips, and were there just to soothe us and take care of us. They were wonderful ladies, and told us all the tricks to lay beneath the heat. So the next activity we did was we went to St. Stephen's Indian Mission, and I found this really interesting because it was just a real mixture of the cultures. So there's a strong Catholic presence, on the reservation from, you know, back in the 1800s when they came up there. And there's kind of some rough history with it too, like Darcy was talking about trying to assimilate the people into the American culture. And, but now I thought it was like beautifully mixed. You can see the art and everything. The Stations of the Cross actually had native depiction of Jesus, and it was really awesome. And then we were visiting the grounds, and the caretakers they're related to the church around there, and they had all these beautiful animals that we got to see, and it was just a really wonderful experience. So I guess that's all I'll say about the culture. I'll pass it on to Tanya, and she'll actually tell you what we did there.
I'm Tanya. So we did met with a nurse practitioner that is actually a nurse on the Indian reservation for over 25 years. And he went over with us a lot about generational poverty and kind of how these people were misplaced and then have been oppressed, and even the kids that we're working with, their parents were all put in boarding schools, stripped of their language, stripped of their culture, and then pretty much thrown back into society and back on the reservation. And now the kids that we taught at the middle school and did these health education booths are the kids of these parents that, you know, kind of had this traumatic, you know, we're the kind of end of the traumatic line of things that have kind of happened to these people. So kind of what we tried to do, and something that we learned from the Indian Health Services, was that education, two things that move a person out of poverty are education and relationships. And so it's not necessarily that we were trying to teach them how to go and live out of their culture, but to live healthy and to live strong and be powerful members of their community. Some of the health issues, you know, just to kind of give you touch base on reservations, and this isn't just Wind River, but this is all Native American reservations. TB is 700% greater. Alcoholism is 634% greater. Accidents are 259% greater. Diabetes are 259% greater. Homicide is 101% greater. And this is actually a picture of the locker. There was a girl murdered a week before we came, and this was like not rare, I guess. There had been 2 or 3 other ones within the year of just children, and there's 15,000 people that live on the reservation. And then suicide is also 96% greater. So what they're doing at Indian Health Services too is he told, the nurse practitioner was telling me that the health services have actually, kind of what's happened in the years is once meth got big, there was people, white and Mexican people, that moved onto the reservation and started giving this to the Native Americans. And so meth was a really big problem in the last 5 years or so. They did a bust of, I think it was 250 people that they just arrested, I think, a year ago. But apparently that problem is coming under control, but they did that in one of the, it's like a health clinic that you would find probably, you know, for a community health clinic like that you would find in Denver, in downtown Denver, is kind of what we were working with. We didn't necessarily shadow, but we just were kind of getting an idea of what the health issues were, and probably next year we're going to be doing some shadowing in the clinics. This round we did more educational stuff. So I'm going to talk about some of the educational booths that we did, and we were at a middle school. We worked with about 150 middle school students. They were like really awesome, receptive, really eager to learn. They also have Shoshone and Arapaho language now being taught at the school and doing culture classes, which is a really big step for this community. And they're just really awesome kids. So we did a booth on computer safety, nutrition, drugs and alcohol, physical